Hey everybody, just thank you for joining me for my first live painting. Just getting through some technical stuff right now. Getting everything set here. Today, remember, we are going to be painting our little Necron Warrior here that I spray primered with some Citadel Chaos Black. Give him a nice coat. Really great day outside today to get priming done, so it came on really smooth, even coat. So that's going to be our base, and we're going to work on from there. Now, some of the colors I'm going to be using, I am going to be, of course, using some Lead Belcher, Dawnstone, some Moot Green, Warpstone, Glow, some Stormhost Silver, have it on black, and Lead Belcher, which I'm going to use for my main little base that's going to go on him first. I really have no set scheme that I'm going to go with them today. Pretty much we're just going to have some fun, see where it's going, because that's what this channel is about, is just painting and having some fun. Now, I forgot to already get some little BBs, mix some balls, just put in my paint pots, because, well, you've dealt with some Citadel paints before, you know you gotta mix them really well, and these little BBs are the best thing. So let's just give it a great shake, and I just hit my Necron. So go under them like that, and let's see, paint along with me. You could go with whatever colors you want. Just have fun with it. Get my magnifying light up here. Kind of see, it's going to be up on the side a little bit. And I have my little painting palette. I'm not using the wet palette today. I still got to get some things set up. So this is my first video. So, and eventually I want to get a bunch of, transfer all my Citadel paints into like the dropper style bottles that Army Painter has. Need to get a bunch of them. But there we go. And what I'm going to start off with is a nice little flat brush. So I have right now, it's this nice fine detail flat brush. I want a flat one because what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the colors go on nice and even. Wait a moment here. Just trying to get the camera set up properly so you can see what I'm doing. A little water up here. Right. And of course, I'll, look at the hang of this more as time goes. This is it. Some little growing pains, but that's okay. We're just here to paint and have fun. Nothing really crazy or wild we're going to do. Most important thing is that we're going to paint and have fun. Because, let's say, games are fun, painting is fun. You know, you see so many people with their different techniques, and get your armies, parade ready, win awards, and that'll come in time. But the first thing is just to get you painting. Just make sure everybody's painting, having fun with the painting, because that's the key part of it, is just the fun with the painting. Now, what we notice in the Necron, he does have a lot of little details on him. Not only, inside his ribs, his his face, of course, his weapon. So we want to make sure all the little parts stand out. And of course, I used the Chaos Black primer. And you want to make sure before anything, when you prime it, make sure the weather's right, make sure it's not too humid, too cold. It could gunk up your paint, start getting, like really rough edges will lay on smooth, they'll peel, they'll just come off. And also go through and while you're assembling, make sure you get your lines off, all your seams, make sure everything's nice and smooth. Alright, now that black has a nice little gloss to it, I've noticed, which is pretty nice. So let me just go ahead and move this here. One day I'll get a better camera set up and then we can go from there. Alright. So, first thing we want to do is we're going to start off with some lead belcher base. Now, what I like to do with my Citadel paints is I'll get a little bit, there's a different little brush here, just something I can pick the paint up with. Just with the paint, you see here. And I'll just put it on my palette here, and I'll just get some water, just because what I wanted to do. I know I've read, the meme, thin coats, then those paints, then those paints. But you just don't want to. You want to thin it till it's just the right consistency that you can work with. All right. Make sure I get all the excess off the brush because it's not good. I've never been a fan of just leaving paint on the brushes and letting it dry, and then it's just horrible to try to get off. And well, I just need to teach my daughter that because she has a tendency to get brushes and leave the paint on it. Alright, so what we're going to do, just want to get some on here, and I want to lightly go over just all the flat parts, and I just want to kind of do a nice thin little coat. Nothing too crazy, nothing too big, just nice thin coats. Now, luckily with this Necron, most of his body is going to have this nice lead belcher thin coat. Now, I could have done a lead belcher base, like primer spray, but I'm going to start off, well, first of all, I didn't have any, and I really did not feel like, really didn't want to spend any more on that, but sometimes with the black underneath it, it'll help make some details kind of already pop out before, because we are going to do a wash. We're going to use Nuln Oil wash, but with the black already under there, it does already help accentuate the recesses that we have going. So some of these parts of the back, I don't have to really get in there too much. Just a very light coat, just enough to give that of gray. Well, not gray, but the silver. Fix the light here so you can see, but we do have, you can start seeing it come on pretty good. Now with the coat, with your base, you sometimes want to go multiple, couple thin coats, But what do I do with this? Because Necrons are really old, ancient, millions upon millions of years old. We don't want them to be we don't have to be super neat, not detail. It doesn't have to look like they just came off the showroom floor, because they are pretty old. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but this is just going to be base coat. And then this here, you know, if you just want to get an army tabletop ready, you know, this is great ways just to get your armies tabletop ready quickly, you know. And, you know, as their techniques get better and better, you can eventually, you know, improve on it. And eventually, you know, have parade ready army. But what we're focusing right now is just, let's get them tabletop ready so you can enjoy a nice, you know, quick game, a kill team game, just, you know, whatever game you want to play at your local game store. Alright. Center our camera a little bit more, maybe that'll help. It's all just kind of a learning process for me right now. And I'll say I'm not laying it on too thick. I'm just lightly using the brush to slightly put it on there. We're not caking it on. Yeah. And see how we already have that black in the recesses. And so we just kind of lightly brush that base over it. The eyes and the facial features are pretty much already sticking out. They're pretty much popping out already, which is great because faces are one of those things that either you're good at or you have to take a little more time with it. Personally, like when I'm painting minis, especially when I'm painting Space Marines, they have helmets for a reason. So, you know, I make them wear their helmets. That way I don't have to paint their faces. That's just, you know, that's my preference too, because, you know, safety first. You know, what's the point of, you know, them being all amazing genetically engineered warriors for a, you know, some orc DACA to, you know, take off their head. So it's always good just to, so, you know, practical and a you know, stylistic choice to keep their helmets on. And of course, later on, you know, in the future, we'll paint some Space Marines and, you know, leave a comment if you'd like to see what kind of Marines, you know, what chapter or Legion, because I do have some Chaos Marines I do need to paint up. Not just my, you know, Thousand Suns and some Death Guard, but I actually have some generic Chaos Space Marines, which I was thinking about either Iron Warriors, which if you're going to go with regular Chaos Marines, I kind of like the Iron Warriors. Or we could go Alpha Legion. And then, not just Warhammer miniatures, but I want to also paint other miniatures. This is my friend Justin. He sent me some great 3D printed Mind Flayers from his 3D printer that he has. Really great quality. I already sent them primed up. I believe I showed those on an earlier little video. Can't wait to get to work with those. They are going to have a, you know, lot of purples, a lot of weird surreal type colors, because, you know, my flares are aberrations, so, you know, they always have their little weird, not really things seen in nature. So, alright, I'm really liking how this lead belcher is going on him, as you can see. Give it a little bit more light here, but it is really standing out. It's really popping out. You still see the details, and that's the key. Nice thin coats on there. You want to see those details, because, you know, you could just cake it on, but, you know, we've all seen those. We've all seen those, like, you know, Nightmare miniatures. You know, it's like, oh, I painted this when I was 8 years old, and it's just a glob of paint. So, and actually, we're going pretty well on this. That with the color on here, I may not have to do any multiple coats, because let's say I'm just going through. And so today we're just going to do the miniature. Basing is going to be a completely different. Basing the miniatures are going to be a completely different video. Basing is a little more. I'm not too experienced with basing. I've always been a little too lazy to deal with basing. But it's one of those things we can work on together, and we'll get better together. Because that's the whole purpose of this channel, is just for us to learn and have fun and no pressure. Because this is supposed to be a nice, relaxing activity. You know, and if it becomes stressful, then it's not really a nice hobby, is it? If it becomes too stressful. It looks like my color, my palette is getting a little bit dry. Let me just add a little bit of water here. Just get some of these little bits up. Because we don't need a whole lot of paint. A little bit of paint will go a long, long way. Remember, we're just trying to brush it on there nice and neat. We're not, you know, it's not going to the circus. And I'm just going to put some up here on these details on the weapon. And of course on the weapon, on this gauze cannon, we're going to have some warpstone green and some other effects. And in the future, I am going to, you know, we're going to start working with some airbrushing techniques, you know, which is really great for like plasma weapons, lighting effects, power weapons. You get some really, really nice effects. Now we're just going to go kind of clean it up, but we don't need to clean up too much. Remember, this is a millions and millions a year old undead robot skeleton. So, we don't need to make it super nice. It just did not come off the manufacturing floor. Okay, so with the lead belcher, you know, we kind of went through most of his body, some parts on the weapon, and the other parts of the weapon we're just going to leave because we're going to do different colors. We're going to base it with some black. We're going to base it with some Abaddon black, is not some of these parts. Now Abaddon black, the thing with Abaddon black, you have to put on at least 13 coats or it just, you know, doesn't really work. Now, and then here is our first coat of our gray. And the thing is, just remember, we're always working up. Start with the base and we're working up. And if you mess up, you mess up. Nothing is set in stone. Everything is nice. Everything works nice. And actually, as my brush is getting a little drier, I'm actually it's almost like a dry brush in some of these parts, which it's kind of nice in the Necrons, as I say, because they're old, they're weathered, they've been sitting in their tomb worlds for eons. You can actually, you know, have a little bit of the, make it look like there's some wear on them. And as I said, oh, that would have been bad. I just got a little bit on the back side of his arm, which I forgot. That's the thing. It happens, you know, if you miss a spot, it's okay. Just get it. And there we go. And I got some on my fingers because, well, it happens. That's the only thing I don't like with these pots, really, is they will spill and not a good recovery. So I do like the Army Painter, you know, dropper bottles, but that's what we have. Alright, so I do want to thank those who are watching. Like I said, it's just in the first video. Hopefully we'll get more people watching, be more interactive. I am getting a Patreon set up, and also, you know, PayPal or whatnot if you want to donate, you know, so we can keep the channel going, get some paints, minis. My goal, one of my goals, short-term goals is, of course, you know, better equipment, but I do want to get the large Army Painter paint set that has, like, you know, there's like 350 colors in it, which is really great. Okay. Next thing I want to do. Thank you, Meg. Trying to be, you know, trying to make it nice and relaxing. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use some Abaddon Black. For the Abaddon Black, what I want to do is I'm going to go in here on these parts on the weapon. These are going to be black. I'm going to do a little black on here, just to kind of get these bases all done. So, first of all, let's go ahead and clean our brushes. Clean this brush because we don't want to leave a dirty brush. Okay. Do you like Bob Ross and just, you know, let's beat the devil out of it? No. Yeah, well, it's too small to do that, but yeah. Alright, but for this, the Abaddon Black, because it is going to be a smaller part, I am going to go and I'm going to use a flat, size 0 flat detail brush. The first I did had this was a 1 that I put on the original coat, was a 1 flat detail. Got these nice Dactyl brushes for acrylic and oil paints, synthetic. Got a nice little deal on them. Because as I say, you don't have to get fancy. You don't have to be expensive with your brushes. Just whatever works for you is all you need. Because, you know, like a $100 brush versus a $10 brush, there's not going to be any difference for me. This is a good airbrush, you know, because airbrush sometimes you got to have that quality. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix our paint. And as I say, these little mixing balls are one of the greatest things ever. You know, just get some BBs, mixing ball wherever you can get. Helps mix the paint up in the pot so it doesn't just gunk up in there. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to get some more of our Abaddon Black. Where was the brush I was using to get it out? Okay. I was using an old Army Painter tri brush to get the paint out, but it's flat. It picks up stuff really well. So, but for the Abaddon Black, we don't need as much. So we're just going to put a little bit here. And of course, once I start breaking out the wet palette, we can actually do some color blending on the wet palette itself. Get some nice effects. Get some really, really great hues. But today we're just starting off simple. This is our first little video. This is our introduction. So I want to kind of keep it simple. All right, let's clean that brush off again. And now using my size 0 flat fine detail, we're going to go and we're going to get right here. And I just want to yeah, because we did do a base. We did do the prime with a black. However, it's not a very, very dark black. Because with the priming, I didn't want to go too overboard. I wanted to keep it nice and thin. So I'll just go in here with this. And be careful around the hand. But the thing is if you do get a little paint on there, it's no problem. Just let it dry a bit. And just go over with that. Just go back over with that lead belcher. Now it's important. I want to get these recesses because these recesses are part of his little gun, and we're going to add some nice color to that near the end. Because remember when the Necron models first came out with their weapons, you know, they had this piece of plastic. It was a green clear piece of plastic, and it would fit inside where the cannon would be. So it would just sit in there, and you know, kind of give it that cool effect. But, you know, over time, that probably became a little prohibitive on the cost. And so they just, you know, made it simple. And honestly, I like being able to just paint it, because that green piece, you know, really, you couldn't paint on it, you couldn't prime it, because if you did anything over it, it would automatically, you know, run that. Now, I did assemble, one thing, if anybody asks, I did assemble the miniatures first. These came from the Indominus box set, the new 9th edition Indominus set that came out, you know, several months ago, or longer now. And with that, these are pretty much this monopose. They come up single ways. You can either equip them with, you know, the regular Gauss rifle, or the Gauss Flare, the Gauss Reaper. You know, the Gauss Reaper is like a big double barrel one. So, but you could kind of interchange them. But that's the only real customization. Sometimes different faces, and they're a lot easier because the way they are is you need to kind of assemble them. You can't put them together piecemeal. So just be careful, because if it is pre-assembled, just when you get up behind here, just, you know, be careful with the brush so we don't hit the you know, the body. You know, you know, make a little mistake, you hit something you're not supposed to, it's okay. But sometimes you just want to minimize the having to go back. And this, I'm just painting a little bit of the handle on this weapon here. All right, got some nice little things in here. I'm just going to kind of go in here in the back. I just want to do a little dark here, some of the back and the spine area. Sorry, move my camera back here. Just deep recess. Just want to kind of go dark. Just in here. That's where the shadow is, and a little bit right here. But I'm not going to go too much, because now that we have all this main done, all the main basing that we've have done, the next thing I want to go ahead and do is we're going to do a wash. Now the wash is like great. It's, you know, not familiar with it, of course. The wash is very thin. It's great for making sure we get the recesses, pops the detail out. Kind of breaks up if everything's just one color. It really helps. Now the problem is with wash, though, it can get out of control sometimes. If you put it on too much, and it's just going to make everything look muddy. But I'm going to use the old standard Nuln oil. Now remember, with the Nuln oil, the first thing we need, you know, who has not spilt their Nuln oil? Wow, I cannot say the word Nuln oil today. But who has not spilt their Nuln oil and posted on the internet? Because that's what most everybody's said down here. Now he's a very tiny, delicate model. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a small number 2 round. Small number 2 round brush. Wow, I'm sorry. Just knocking everything over. I need more workspace. Number 2. No. And I want something with some good bristles, because since it is very thin, it is very watery. I want something that can actually pick up the paint, or pick up the oil, and also I can also use it to help to pull up areas where it's pulling, because we don't want it to pull up in really bad locations. So I'm just going to get a little bit on here. Of course, I just want to make sure it's not too much. And we just want to open up here. And what we want to do is we're just going to kind of go in and we want to fill the little crevices. Fill the little crevices. Just kind of let that go through. That's going to make some of these details pop. Now you don't want to go crazy. I've seen some techniques. There's some techniques I've seen where you just basically dip the entire model in the wash and it just coats everything. But then, this was some of those you still have to go back and just kind of repaint almost everything. So we're just going to kind of go in here, just go over where the recesses are. There's some damage. And we just had a little bit too much, but that's okay. Just dry the brush off a little bit. And we can just use our brush to kind of pick up the little extra pools. And we can just move those to their new little home. And it's nice and relaxing. Just kind of go in here and sometimes when you're painting, you know, I know sometimes when I'm just painting, I just kind of go into a nice little Zen state, very relaxing, very peaceful. Just kind of put on some nice music or whatever you want, and just ignore the wife and kids, and just, you know, don't ignore the wife and kids, but just, you know, bad day at work, just kind of paint. Or if you're lucky, if you have a job where you can paint at work, that's even better. So we're just a little bit in here, just the recesses here. And then got a little too much right here on his arm. This stuff can dry pretty quick. That's why you wanna get control of the little pools, so it doesn't go through. Of course, remember, if it happens, it happens, you know. Get a little extra splotch somewhere, it's okay. Because ultimately, just painting the mini, you just paint it however you want to. It's your rules. It's your little world. Your little dude. So you don't have to, you know, listen to anybody. If you want to paint it, you want to make them bright pink, Hello Kitty, you can. I showed my daughter, she's painted with me before, and she's made a Space Marine that was purple and pink, which that's, you know, the way she wanted it to be. I didn't know my child was a, you know, Emperor's Children fan, or, you know, worshiper of Slanesh, but, you know, that's, you know, that's her choice, I guess. As long as we know, you know. And also, this normal oil does get a lot of the brightness down on it. If you notice, it does get a lot of the, like some of the gleam, some of the sheen off of it. So it does kind of mute the colors a bit, which is what I want, because in some spots, because I'm going to, you know, later on we're going to use our layering and highlights and to really make things pop out more, to make a lot of the colors, a lot of the details pop out. Right now he's pretty much washed, and of course we need to wash our brush. Wash the wash. And of course, whoever's, you know, you're watching, go ahead and don't forget to like, share, subscribe. I'm going to try to get everything up on YouTube as well eventually. I'm just working. I need to get some encoding software. I want to get some of that set up, and let that dry for one moment. Okay. Now, so right now I'm using a lot of the Citadel paints, but if you don't use the Citadel paints, that's fine. Army Painter, Vallejo, multiple brands of great modeling paint. And if you want to make sure you get the right colors, one of the great things is there are some there are some charts, guides that'll help you figure out which color is comparable to what. Like earlier today, I was trying to find Caliban green, which is, you know, Dark Angel's green, but the Army Painter, they have Angel green, which is a match. So, and it's way less than the price. So if you want to save money, definitely go there. Definitely go with that. Let's go ahead and get this set here. Okay. Okay. Okay, I also just pulled my feet up on my computer next to me so I can actually see what everybody else is saying. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay. Oh, okay, there's a nice little delay in there. Didn't know that. Okay. So, we went ahead, we got our bases done. We went ahead, of course, our lead belcher for the body. We did some Abaddon Black for bits on the weapon. And then we went ahead and did a wash with the Null Oil. So, the details are really popping out. Got our little robot skeleton face here. He's looking pretty good. He's looking fine. He's looking good. He's ready to, you know, go and do whatever the robots like to do. But now I'm going to go ahead and go to a little more detail on the weapon here. And we're going to go back to some of the Abaddon Black. And I'm going to just go ahead and paint over the barrel part of his weapon more. Because the silver is nice, but I want it to be a little dark. The reason I'm going to have a little dark right here coming up is some of the little bits on side is I'm going to use like a bright green. I'm going to go and use the moot green, warpstone green. So I'm not getting into the recesses right now. I'm just kind of painting over the parts that stick out. So we're just going to get all that in there. We're going to get those. All right. Pretty thin coat, but that's all we really need. I just wanted that a little darker than what we had. I'm thinking about doing a Reddit Live or Twitch. I do have a Twitch Prime account. Reddit, I'm not sure. Reddit's kind of scary. But I do have a Twitch Prime account. Right now, just with the equipment I have, I can really only... I can't do a YouTube stream live right now until I have like 1,000 YouTube subscribers, or I have to use my webcam, and I got to get that set up. I'm trying to... Just technical stuff, just getting it all started up, but definitely want to branch out some more. Alright. Now, what do we want to do next? We want to kind of give him a little bit of a rust feel now, because he does have all the silver. Now what we want to start doing is we want to start working on some of the details. You know, some of the inside details, weapon details, things like that. So, what we're going to do first of all is... Nope. Go into my handy thing of colors here. Want to do a layer. Yes. Sycorax Bronze is a nice little metallic color. Now it is a layer, so it is a little wetter, a little thinner. But what we're gonna I'm gonna have to order some more mixing balls or something soon. I think I got more paint than I do mixing stuff. Just pop that in here, and especially some of these layering, especially the metallics. The metallics have a very bad tendency of separating You see, it's like the, so we just need to pop it in here. Let's shake it up really good. Yeah, ooh, I think I made myself a little lightheaded shaking too much. Let's see how that's coming out. Oh yeah, that's getting a little better. So with that, I'm just going to go back to my standard 0 flat. And I'll shake it up a little bit more. If this color doesn't work, I can use other stuff. All right, here we go. Ooh, it's a little thick. A little thick, look at that. It's like, now let's just go ahead and just, yeah, it's still a little thick. See the bronze in there. May have to go now. No, that'll work, actually. It's getting more mixed up. But, yeah, we can see here. So, I just mix a little bit more. It still has a lot of the not that you can hear it on the stream, but this ball in here is clacking, shaking the heck out of it. Alright, let's try this here. Really goopy, but you know what? It's actually kind of working good for what we need it to. So, I'm going to experiment a little bit, because, you know, that's part of the fun, is just figuring out what do I want to do? How do I want to make this work? So, I'm just going to add a little bit of on the body here, just kind of almost like a dry brush. Almost like a dry brush. You know, it looks, I don't know if you can see it well on the camera, but it's going to have this. I'm just kind of using on the edges a little bit. Is it almost like a dry brush? Just kind of shows like almost like a weathering effect. And this little cheap weathering effect to do. Just kind of a little bit here on the face. Where it's just, because I'm kind of almost treating this like a dry brush. But except this is a little more wet than your typical dry brush paint. But it adds nice little bit of color, a little more detail to kind of make your guys stand out. I mean, whether you just want to put your models up for a display, or if you just want to, you know, play a nice game, you just want your models to look interesting, because nobody wants to play just against boring, you know, gray plastic or the old, you know, pewter, if you still have pewter models. Yeah, some lines they still have like the old metal models. I know just recently, until you played Sisters of Battle, it was a lot of just, you still had to do a lot of metal minis. Yeah. One day they'll have everything updated. I think Corn Berserkers have been the same model since 3rd edition. And so, I don't know if you can see it a little bit, but you do start seeing that Sycorax bronze a little bit. I'm not sure if you see it much on there. The thing is, when you're doing your layers like this, consistent brush stroke. You want to have a nice consistent brush stroke. And so, just want to have fun with them. Just have a little bit of fun with it. It's your little friend. I'm going to put some on the silver pieces on his weapon. Because maybe that's made of the same stuff as his metal body. This gives a little bit of a pop to it. Remember, it's going to be layers upon layers. It's like a nice big old birthday cake. You want to have. Alright, let's get that. And with the layering paint, unlike with the base paint, you notice I'm just using very little bit. I'm applying it directly on, but I'm not using any water to thin it, dilute it down, because it's already pretty thin too. See, it doesn't overwhelm the color that's already on there. And it just nice and kind of complements it, adds a little accent. And I like this little copper color, and I'm doing it this way because the silver still comes out. So it gives a nice multi-layered weathering effect. Because as I said, these guys are pretty old. They're older than about 90% of the Senate. And let's just kind of touch them up there. Remember, these guys, they don't have to be super, super neat. See, now we have nice little weathered effect on him. And it was just a simple little, just using the layer, adding it on nice and thin, almost like a dry brush. Of course, let's wash off our brush, because I said we don't need to leave the paint. And also another thing, never leave your paint brushes just in the water. I learned that the hard way many years ago. Just left some new brushes in the water, and they were wooden. They were wooden bodied, and yeah, the wood started peeling and going bad, and the plastic, the metal housing on the brush just started coming off. Okay. What we want to do now is let's do some details on this weapon. Let's get this weapon finished up and get a little details on there, and then we will finish up everything else on here. So, we're going to be doing one of the hardest colors, in my opinion, white. I'm going to do a ceramite white base just for a couple little spots on here, but you're going to see why I'm going to do the white, because I want something lighter. I want a lighter base for where I'm going to put some brighter colors. Some nice bright greens, almost like neon fluorescent type greens. So, and if you want your top color to pop, you want to have that lighter little color on there. So let's mix this white up real quick. Whites are always fun. To say the least. All right, it's because it's something with the way they use the whites. It's something with the whites. It just causes it to it's like clumps. That's the best I could say. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use a small round. It's a 40 brush, and I'm just going to use a little bit of white, very little, because a little bit goes a long way. And we have these little grooves that are in this weapon, and what I want to do, I just want to kind of just get the edges of them, just paint across, get the edges, because this is kind of like the power coil of the weapon. So this is where all the energy builds up, So we want this to kind of be a little bit wider. And oops, I got a little bit of white on there, but that's no big deal. Yeah, a little bit of white on there where it touched, but you know, I say that's no big deal. Now this hose I'm going to do white as well, because this hose is also going to be made like a brighter green color. So remember, you want a nice bright color on top, you need to have a nice bright color underneath. So let's go in here, let's go get this hose behind here, because this is like one of the main like tubes, coils for the weapon, so it's going to have that same green effect that we want to do. So just put it on here. And I'm putting it a little thicker than normal because that black underneath. So I want to make sure that the white's on there. Because if that white's not on there, you know, it's just going to kind of look really uneven. So also, this is kind of like going back and learning for me as well, because this is the first miniature I've actually painted since I had my shoulder and hand surgery back in September. So this is kind of like, you know, you're kind of on this journey with me of getting back up on the horse and, you know, going back and having some fun with it. And after, I do admit, it does get a little scary to do this. One of the things I do recommend, yeah, look at other people's work on the internet. You know, look how other people are painting their minis, everything like that. It's always good to see different techniques. But one thing is, you're painting for yourself. Don't compare yourself to these people that have their own professional studios and they're making minis for other people. You know, just you don't need to focus on them, because this is all for you. This is your minis, how you want to do them. So, and you don't want to get distracted because, well, you don't want to get discouraged, because, I mean, if you're busy focusing on like how good so-and-so is, you're not going to figure out how good you are. You're going to be focusing on, oh, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be that good. I'm never going to do this. And the whole time you're just going to neglect. Well, not really neglect, but you're going to get discouraged. You're going to feel down. You're going to not want to paint because you're going to feel like, oh, I'm not good enough. I'm never going to do this right. And trust me, that's something that all of us have dealt with before. And, you know, but it's natural, but that's why we're here to learn. And if you notice, I just went with some black, sorry, with the camera, and where I had that little white right here that I accidentally touched, I just went over back with the Abaddon black and just fixed it a little bit. And I say that's no big deal. Nothing is unfixable. Nothing is unfixable in these. Mess up on something, you can fix it. No big deal. Heck, if you mess up the whole model, you can still strip the model down. You know, get some solvent, some degreaser, whatever you need. You can just strip the model down and start over from scratch. You know, just okay. So, recap and cap. We said, remember, we did the whole lead belcher over the body as a base, and then we went with the Sycorax bronze. Kind of did like a light, like almost like a dry brush with them to kind of give them that little goldish, worn look. Of course, we did the Abaddon black on some of the weapons, and then we just touched some parts on the weapons with white and on his chest, where I'm going to put the lighter green type the lighter green color. Actually, this is what I talk about, just, you know, no big deal. But if you make a little mistake, that's okay. Because what I forgot to do is also his eyes. His eyes are going to have like a green glow to them. So I'm going to use a little bit of the white. I'm just going to kind of barely get in there. Kind of barely get in there. And it look, oh, kind of looks kind of wicked right now though. You see the little dots are his green eyes. It's like he's just staring at you. Yeah, Necrons are fun. I mean, I've never made a Necron army. I've played, I do got Mechanicus on my Nintendo Switch, which is a great turn-based game. You play Mechanicum and you fight against Necrons and their tomb and stuff. It's pretty interesting. My wife hates watching me play it because she says it looks boring because it's like, but you're just squares and you're moving squares and grids and it's, but that's, you know, Warhammer. Now, for the green details, I have two light greens I like to use. I have, excuse me, Warpstone Glow and Moot Green. You see, Moot Green is a lot more of a neon than the Warpstone Glow. So what I would do when I get two colors like this, I'm going to put my bottom layer as the Warpstone Glow, kind of as my base. And then I'm going to use the Moot Green for the more finer details to kind of give it a little more, kind of get a little more pop, a little more 3D. Because, you know, we don't want bland, flat colors. You know, if you've seen my stuff I painted before, I kind of like vibrant colors. I like them to be bright. I like them to be detailed. I don't like them. It is an ultra grimdark setting, you know, Warhammer, but doesn't mean everything has to be ultra grimdark. Like for example, my little sorcerer here, you know, really, really colorful. And then the feature, we'll go and paint one of these guys together because I go with them completely different way. I start off with a gold base, and I work from there. And these guys are really fun. I can't wait till they get some new models. All right. And just go ahead and mix these paints up because you want your paints to be nice. Next, shaking two of them up at the same time. It's like I got some maracas. Having some fun here. All right. So we're going to start off with our Warpstone. Now with our Warpstone, I'm going to go back down with our tiny fine detail 440 brush and see just a very little bit. And the only reason I'm wiping anything off is just to make sure I have just enough on the brush to cover what I need. Now this darker part is the darker green is going to be used for kind of like the base part of it. Now with the other green, I can actually pull out a little bit more, kind of give it almost like a glow effect. Now later on, I want to do some airbrush work. We can work on that together. We can do some airbrush work, and we can really see how you can get some glow effects really amazing with the airbrush. But right now, we're just gonna do it the old-fashioned with a brush. Now with this, I just want to kind of paint over these. Now I got a little bit of green. It does look a little sloppy in some parts, but that's okay because we're going to kind of give the illusion of glowing in here anyways. So get this up here. And you do see why I popped the white on there first, because without that white, that green would have just been completely eaten by the by that black color. Now say this is a layering paint, so it is thinner than the base. So I don't water it down, I just kind of apply it thinly. With this, sometimes you may need an extra, 1 or 2 coats. But right now it does look flat. But that's why I have that other green too. Because if you want to have that nice illusion of light, or just, to make it pop out, make it look less flat, you want to use multiple colors. Oh, hi Daniel. Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to try to get these up on YouTube. I got to figure that out. Still learning how to do all this stuff. But let me just get this set here. Of course, these will be on Facebook, of course, so you can always just go on Facebook and check them out too until I get that all figured out. So I'm just kind of learning everything. All right, and let's let that set and dry a little bit. So we're still, right now, see, we're getting a little bit of that color. And of course, we don't want to forget his little eyes. Let me get some paint on it. Eyes are always, to me, the eyes are always the most nerve-wracking thing. It's like, just want to get that in there. And then I want to get his little thing on his chest, which is supposed to glow a little bit. Alright, so pretty much that's tabletop ready if you think about it. I mean, it's more 3 colors, it's got some detail, but it's still not done. I mean, we added a little bit of green to the eyes. We went over all the white spots with this warpstone glow. So let's touch up that. Because remember, everything is just building up, building up. Start with our flat layer, start with our flat base, and then we keep moving up. All right. So he's getting there. Whew. The wet palette's not set up yet. I'm trying to get that going. I'm just kind of doing some basic, just dry palette right now. But I'm going to get the wet palette out soon so we can actually work on that. Same with the airbrush. So I'm just doing a basic dry palette right now. Just kind of beginning starter stuff. Alright, now we're going to the moot green, which is this nice, almost very neon green. And we're going to get some of that, so we're just going to throw it on here. And when I do get the wet palette up, I mean, I'll be able to blend some colors more right there on the palette. Mix of the whites and the greens, make it really, really pop. But what you want to do when you get your ultimate green, your highlights, is you don't want to go over the entire thing. What we want to do now is just kind of do like a nice edging to it so it pops a little bit. So it has that nice depth, so it makes it feel like, there's actually something in there. A little bit on the, not all the coils, but just a little bit on the coils. So you have that little bit of a glow in there. It's like this. I'm not sure the light picks it up well. But There we go. You see how it has a little more of a depth to it now. It makes it a little stand out a little bit more right here. And I'm just going to put it right here in the chest part, up here at the top of that. And of course his eyes. Just want to do a little bit in the eyes. But with this, I'm just going to go a little over around the eyes with it, kind of like in the edges. What that kind of does, it gives it a kind of like his eyes are glowing, kind of almost like a light effect. I don't know if you can see that with the camera. See that in this? There's the lighting really well. But yeah, it's kind of almost just sticking out, and it just kind of makes it look like his. Kind of makes it look his eyes are glowing. And then we want to move my light out of the way on my face. And then I'm going to kind of do the same thing with this gauze rifle here. I'm just kind of like a little bit around the edge, right up here on the top. And it kind of gives it the effect like it's glowing a bit. Because remember, with this, it's all about making that illusion, making it look cool. Because nobody wants to play against the primer gray army. And the glow kind of comes out on both sides. Sorry. So it kind of pops it out a little bit more. So it looks like his weapon, you know, it's on, it's powered up. He's going to come and mess you up. And then just for a little bit of that last little extra pop when it comes to this, because I know I did start off with the white here, but now what I want to do is, hold on, I'm going to need that in a second. Here it is. White Scar, which is another layering, but it's a white layering. I'm just going to use that just to kind of get the little details popped off. And of course, in the painting style I go, I mean, this style I'm doing, you can crank out pretty quick. If you have, you know, 20, 30 of these models, you can, you know, you can crank a bunch out. All right, Daniel, I'll see you later, man. Thanks for dropping by. Make sure you tell everybody to like. All right. Now what we're going to do is just a little bit of the white scar. It's just some white layering. And what I like to do is just a little bit here on the, a little bit here on this plasma coil. It's okay. Just a little bit here. Just kind of makes that little jump out a little bit at you. Just a little bit, and just kind of, you know. Pops out of it. And the thing is, with this, a very little bit will do you. Just a very little bit will do you. It's all about just minor little things, and then it pops up. So it looks like, you know, there's a source of light coming on this weapon. Now with airbrushing techniques, you could do some nice stuff where you kind of make it look like it glows and it's glowing on the arms, things like that. But as I say, airbrushing is something I'm still kind of learning. I'm still getting used to it. I got my airbrush. I was getting it set up. I was practicing with it, and then carpal tunnel, and I had a bone spur in my shoulder, so I had to get that all fixed, and so that kind of put a little damper on some stuff. Now I just want to finish up his weapon. Now for his weapon, I want to go ahead and I'm going to use some Storm Host Silver. It's a nice silver color. Notice I can use that with some of the other little parts of him, just for some final little details. Shake it up, and of course it's a layering, so it has it's most of the pigment settling at the bottom. So that's the bad thing when you take a several month break. You just tend to let everything fall to the wayside. But several months ago, how I'm shaking my paint up, I would be in excruciating pain. So that's even better. So, alright, so what I'm going to go is I'm going to go with a 0. No, not with a 0. Where is it? Where's my ultra fine? It's probably new paintbrushes. I'm trying to figure out which one is the best for me. Here we go. This is a 5.0 ultra fine. You can see that thing is tiny. The thing is great for some really great detail work. I said this is just a layering, so we don't have to really worry much about it. But what I want to do is just just kind of adding some little detail on the black part of the weapon. Nothing too crazy. This little hose here that has like some ridges. What I do is I just paint over the ridge, just lightly go over the raised parts, and so it kind of makes it look from being just a flat, boring black piece to actually something that sticks out. And then of course you want to just work the edges a little bit just to kind of break up some of that just very flat lines. And then it's not my line of work there is not the greatest, but it works. And then I like to do just sometimes like outside lights hitting the model. I kind of like sometimes going on some of the edges, like some of these hard edges, like around his collarbone here, or right up here on the top. Just add a little bit of that Stormhost silver to the very edge, like the light's hitting off of it. Kind of gives it that little sheen, like it's being like the light's reflecting off of it, so it's not just like a flat model. So make it, it's more of an organic thing in a real world. So just kind of like pop it there, maybe a little bit on the face where it touches, and also kind of dulls up some of the when I went a little extra on the eyes. But and also one thing is with the model, sometimes you get a little distracted and you kind of forget about other little spots on it, like his back. Which luckily there's not too much back detail on this guy. I'm just gonna get some of these ridges, like his spine on the spine here. Just some parts where like the light would hit it from the top. Maybe like the back of his leg, something like that. And I said, you don't have to do this. This is a feature model. Paint however you want it to do. Just whatever, as long as you're happy with it. It looks fun and you have fun. Alright. Now, only thing that would be left to do on this model would perhaps base it, which they have different type of basing. Basing will be a completely different video. Something really interesting, fun, because you can deal with like technical paints that crack and different textures, grasses, things like that they have. But with this, it's pretty much tabletop ready. We got minimum 3 colors, and it's more than just the bare minimum of tabletop. It's stands out, pops, and is great little addition to anybody's little Necron army that they would have, so they can have fun and take over the galaxy. All right, and Like I said, I just want to thank everybody for joining me in my first video. I swear they will get better, and my camera work will get better. It's all learning, but that's the whole point of this, is to learn, have fun, because gaming is fun and painting is fun, and that's what it's all about. And I will see you next time, and thank you for joining. Bye-bye.